what are you following up with this week? How many you can help a bunch of families next week?
Yes, I want to. You want a number?
Well, a number would be nice.
Be good.
A little goal.
We're gonna hold you to it.
Yeah,
Oh,
put it out there
God.
in the world.
Let's put like a dinner on it or something.
Oh gosh.
Or we shave your hair.
No,
No
eyebrow. Just an
No
eyebrow. Just half.
way.
Sam will take care of it.
Nothing with my.
Thanks for joining this week on the Elite Sales Podcast. I'm joined in studio this week by Kaylani Sanchez, new agent, senior vice president or executive vice president of FFL Elite Syndicate, John Baccaron.
What's going on?
And we're all very honored this week to have a special guest, joining us remotely. He is a Hall of Fame producer. He's a Hall of Fame manager. He's a council member. I don't even know. He's up there. Integrity partner. He won 3 championships with the Chicago Bulls, and he is the founder and agency owner of FFL Capital. So without any further ado, we have Zach Tardowski joining us today. So thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on. That's like a heavyweight boxing announcement for the championship fight. So I got to live up to it now. So I appreciate you having me on.
You're the champ at the moment. So yeah, we just want to have you on because we've we're always on here trying to get better. We're trying to figure out what other agencies that are doing well are doing, and your agency is one of the fastest growing agencies. You've always been a guy that I've always respected because you're very low key, like you're a very humble guy, but the thing is you're always working. You're always finding new ways to improve your business, and Sean always talks about the things that you're implementing, and we've learned through various calls, but there's no better source than to hear it directly from you. So one of the things that a lot of people, starting off, they always kind of question, they're like, what should be the first step? What type of lead should people be starting off with? And you and your team have done really well with the CRM leads, right? So can you tell us what your strategy is for like a new agent?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you for having me on. It's always an honor, and I've learned a lot, obviously from you guys on what y'all have done building a business. So I appreciate that. I think just for new agents, and I think the best answer is that all the leads work, right, Albert? And that's everyone says they all work, they all suck, but I truly believe that, So I think when getting new agents started, it's going to be dependent a lot on what their budget looks like, right? Like if someone comes in and goes, I have $300 to spend on leads versus someone that's been making a multiple 6-figure and they say I have $2,000 to spend on my first week of leads, it's a lot of a different story, right? So I think like the first thing that we try to do is make sure there's no blanket answer, I guess, for every individual agent. We're trying to have individual lead plan calls with everyone, right? So say, you go to get contracted on Monday, I'm going, hey, Albert, we're going to jump on a call on Wednesday and go through a specific lead plan for you to make sure you have a good, successful first dial day. Make sure you have the right expectations for what that dial day will look like, how many leads you need, what kind of leads, what other tools you may need, et cetera, right? So we're trying to get them from, you're getting contracted to we're dialing on Thursday, right? Like trying to get people in the field as quickly as we can. Because we noticed that the best way to make sure that we retain a lot of agents and that agents are happy is that they get paid right away, right? And that's our job as managers. And what we did for a long time was we're like, hey, just go, into the CRM or just get these leads or whatever and like jump on the phone. And what we found was a lot of people were confused, and confused people typically do nothing, like they just like, oh, I don't really know what to do. So I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to wait and try to watch a bunch more videos and then, just kind of see what I want to do later. So we changed the approach to really going like, we're going to jump on a call. I need you to tell me exactly what your lead budget is for this first dial day. And then we'll sit down with them, look at their area, look at all the options, resources that are available to that specific agent and figure out a good game plan for them to get them started, like a typical agent may be, and I like to get people a mixture of things, right? Because I've seen, agents come on and love mortgage protection, hate mortgage protection, love internet leads, hate them, like final expense leads, don't like them, And I think everyone's a little bit different in their taste. Some people love doing virtual, some people can't stand it. So I think everyone's a little bit different. So I'm trying to get on with them, kind of feel out what them and their situation are, and then, go from there as far as the lead plan goes. And what I like to let people know is, we're going to get started. We're going to use, CRM leads to get started. because especially if they're, let's just take like the typical person that's unlicensed, right? That doesn't have a massive budget for leads. I want to get them on as many leads as they possibly can get for as inexpensive as possible, right, Albert? Like I want you to have as many cracks at it as possible, because if you have, say you have 10 leads that are $70 leads you paid $700 for, and you don't know what you're doing on the phone, that's going to hurt you because you're not going to set them because you don't know what you're doing yet. So I'd much rather them have, 150 leads for the same price and have that many more cracks at it to get it started. But I like to let agents know, like, our goal when getting started here is for you to have a lot of basically a learning curve on the phone, to get beat up on the phone. Like I want you to get beat up on the phone so that you learn how to overcome objections. Because if you learn how to overcome objections on older, cheaper leads, when we then implement new leads, you're going to crush it on the phones, right? So I need you to look at this first, month, maybe it's 30 days, maybe it's 90 days, but this first little bit here as we're building cash flow up, I need you to look at this as a learning curve and not just expect to be great right away, because no one's great at something that you can make a multiple six-figure income at right away. Is that fair? So I just try to set the right expectations and let them know we're going to start with these leads, and it should not be easy. You should get beat up on the phone, but this is like your boot camp. Once we get through that and build lead flow up, then we can transition to other leads that might be more expensive. And that'll help cut down on the amount of time that you spend dialing on the phone. Does that make sense? So I just try to get them understanding like what the process is going to be like, because I don't think anyone wants to sit there and go, I'm going to dial for, 12 hours a day for the next, 5 years. Like that's not what we're trying to do either. We're trying to get people to learn on cheap leads so that that's low risk, because you have 150 of them. If you can set 15 of them, great. You're going to be profitable. If matter of fact, if you set 10 of them and you sell 2, you're already in the green, right? So I just try to set people up with the right expectations of them and let them know that this is not like permanent. This is just for you to learn, get good. And once we build cash flow, then we'll be able to invest in more expensive leads that will cut down on the dial time on the phone. But I need you to get good on these leads first, because in the beginning, it's not a lead problem necessarily. It's going to be you learning phone scripts, how to overcome different objections from every type of lead, right? Does that make sense? I don't know if that answers your question specifically, Albert, or not, but that's just kind of the overall like viewpoint I have on how to get agents started with leads.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if you get this, but we get this from time to time. Obviously, there's a lot of great lead options available out there. There's the CRM leads. Obviously, you can get the older leads. You can get the instant internet life leads, the new internet life leads. There's the mortgage mailers. There's the old mortgage mailers. There's live transfers. There's a ton of different options. So sometimes new agents come on board and then, they see, oh, what's the top producer doing? And they're working mortgage mailers, which is it's a cost prohibitive thing if you don't have like capital behind you, right? There's also live transfers, which if you don't really know what you're doing and you take a live transfer, that's anywhere from like $80 to $130 mistake if you don't convert on it. So what do you typically tell agents if they come on board up front and they say, oh, so-and-so is doing live transfers, can I just start on that?
Yeah, and I just let them know kind of what we talked about before. Like if I let you start on that, that'd be doing you a disservice because you don't have the skill set yet. But one thing we do encourage all of our managers and lead, and like when I was in the field, I ran all the different lead types, Albert, just because I wanted to understand how to work them all, and where it may have been like not a majority of my lead flow, I would still like work them all just so I could understand how to set appointments from them. I knew how to work them all. I knew what different lead types were. So I do encourage like all the managers to at least have a base and understand how to work all the lead types, because and I think same goes for being virtual and in the field, right? I think it's great if everyone could do both a little bit, because that way you can train people and virtually you train them in the field, and you don't have to outsource that training to someone else because it's being done the right way. So a lot of our managers now, like they may do really well in the field and they may love it, but I'm like, dude, take one day and do some virtual stuff in case you have someone you need to teach that to. So I think we take the same standpoint with leads, so that way they're getting started and everyone can go, hey, I started on these leads too. And the reason we don't want you to start on these ones, because if you have a lead that's $70 tells you no, like you're gonna want to bang your head through a wall, right? And so we'd rather for that price have you work 12 $4 leads, right? Hopefully my math is right on that. I think it is. So have you work 12 $4 leads so that it's not as high stakes per lead, and just like make sure to explain that. And I think a lot of that has come from making sure we're doing individualized coaching calls on lead planning before agents get their first dial day started. I think that's been a big tweak we've had to make, because before people were just going in, and I remember like when it really hit me, someone was like, yeah, I bought like 30 silver call-in leads and like 100, age final expense leads in like a different state. And I'm like, dude, that's my fault though, because I didn't tell them what to do, right? Like I can be mad at them and be like, they should have known better, but that's my fault because I didn't tell them what to do. So, making sure that you're basically signing off on the lead plan that they have for them and have the right expectations for it. Because when you're doing it, you can go, hey, you're gonna get 150 of these 1 month internet leads. Now, a lot of people think they should set them on, which is not true. They're 1 month old and they're filled out online. So your goal tomorrow is to make as many phone calls as you can and set 10% of them. If you do that, that's a win, right? And you're going to spend $700. Average sale, is what it is, between 500 to 1,000, depending on the agent. So you make one sale, you're even, right? You make 2-3 sales, you're profiting. You make 5-6 sales, you're really profiting and you're doing well, right? So I think just getting on those individual one-on-one calls with agents before they purchase leads, give them the right expectations and make sure that they're buying leads that they'll have a chance of having success with, I think has been a major game changer for making sure we're getting new agents started quickly. And then they're more willing to buy the leads and get started because they have someone who's a top producer on there telling them, hey, this is how I started with, this is what I recommend. This is me giving this my stamp of approval. So you'll have a good dial day tomorrow. And then on that same call, Albert, you can get on with them and set up what the dial day should look like. Make sure that they, with ours, we start at 7:30 in the morning. So we're like, hey, we need you to get on at 7:30 in the morning with us. What we're going to do is probably make 500-600 dials tomorrow. You're going to get told no a lot. It's okay. It happens to everyone. And we're just going to look for the ones that you can kind of cherry pick, find the needles in the haystack and get you out in the field and get you start getting some reps in and start building up your skill set.
I got a question on that. So how do you build your structure from the top down? You were saying you're doing individual lead strategies for each of your agents. Like in your team right now, as a builder, as a board member, you have over 300 plus writing agents, right? So how do you continue to create that system and structure for brand new agents coming in? Who's in charge? Like, who do you talk to? Do you talk to your main agency builders and then they do it individually? How do you disseminate that process?
Like you're not talking to everybody directly, right?
No, so only the people I'll take direct am I doing that with. So every person, whoever they're direct to is responsible for that. And so if I'm giving agents out to people and I find out that they didn't do a one-on-one call with them and they didn't walk them through the process, then I'll just stop giving agents to that person. I'm like, you obviously don't have any intention of helping people right now. Could change, but your goal is just to get numbers on the board, which we're not. I want no part of that. I want part of bringing new people on and them getting paid and doing well for their families. So we're only going to give agents and have agents work with people that are invested in them as a person, not just some number or some body on a leaderboard. I hate that. I hate that stuff. That's stuff I don't want any part of, so we want to make sure that they're getting connected with someone that can, walk them through it and look at them like this is someone who needs to pay their mortgage in a month or has 2 kids. We got to take care of people. That's how you grow a big business, by actually caring about people, So I think we're making sure that everyone, whoever they're direct to, is having a one-on-one conversation. And if it's a newer person, let's say say you're brand new in the business, you've never done a lead plan before, that's where you would lean on your upline to go, hey, Albert, can you jump on with me and Bob? He's new. I've never done a lead plan with someone before. Can you, tell him what to do? And can I listen in so that I know what to do next time as well?
So, any question?
Yeah. So going back to that, so you're seeing the uplines talking individually. So how do you see that from your perspective, from your staff? How do you see that when you have a new downline that recruits a new downline? Right. So it wasn't directly from you giving that to an agent. How do you get to see that? And how do you have a little bit of a check and balances?
Yeah. So in our onboarding system, after they finish contracting, they get an email that says, you finished contracting, here's the boot camp. Also your mentor, or I can't remember I think it says your sales mentor or something like that on there, will be reaching out to you to go over a lead plan. If you don't hear from them, call this number and my cell phone number is attached to it.
I see.
So I get calls of people, they're like, and then I can go, hey, Bob, why didn't you call, Jim? He wants to get in the field on Thursday. Like he said, he reached out to you and he hasn't heard back. Can you get with them and do a lead plan, or do I have to do it for you?
Okay.
So Sean's told the story about when they first got their first lead vendor and the mail house burned down, right? So, I mean, we're all like, the writing's on the wall, and we've all discussed, mortgage mailers are great, but that business model eventually is going away. The whole snail mail thing, it's eventually going away. So is it dangerous for people to just want to stick to just one lead source and just be like, hey, what's the best lead source? I'm just going to stick with this and get as many as I can, because it's an ever evolving business, right?
Yeah, dude, I think the best way to do it is to always have diverse lead flow. Even if, let's say we live in a world where mortgage leads, we're not going to get cost prohibitive at some point, which they are, right? It's just so expensive to mail stuff. And certain state, y'all are in California, I'm in Denver. Dude, if I did a mail drop myself out here, I'd pay $300 a lead because the average house price is $750 in Denver. People, they're not filling that out. right? And it's just going to keep being that way. So but now, am I saying you shouldn't have mortgage leads? No, I think you should, but I think you should have a mixture of different leads for a couple of reasons, right? Like there's certain seasonalities in the year where mortgage leads will slow down. Like you take end of the year, December, January, February, or right now with interest rates going up, house prices going up, like that's going to slow down, right? So even if they weren't going to go away, I still think you need to diversify. And I learned that the hard way. It was in 2019. So all of 2018, I ran like old mortgage leads and Facebook leads. And then I got some new mortgage leads. Like there was a county opened up and I was fired up and I've got all the mortgage leads I could all over the country. And I was only running those. And then I think it was like February, right after conference, I was looking, I'm like, dude, I even took a week off and I have no leads to run because it slowed down the area I was running in. Wintertime, people weren't buying or refinancing houses, right? So from that point on, I was like, okay, I'm going to always make sure I have at least 3 different consistent lead sources coming in for me personally, because that makes sure they'll never slow down, right? And different things affect different lead sources, right? Like if you're doing Facebook campaigns, if election season comes up, those get drowned out, right? Or if Facebook changes their algorithm, those get drowned out. If you're running only internet leads and there's a 50% off discount on all internet leads and you're asleep when that comes out, you wake up in the morning, there's no leads in your account, right? So I like to at least have 3 different lead sources at all times going. And I always am like trying a 4th one. And one thing I did, but this is like extra neurotic, but I'm gonna go over it anyways. I always, at the end of every month, I would check all of the leads I bought, see how much I bought from each different lead type, Albert, and then I would see how much premium I wrote from each different lead type and how much premium I wrote from each different lead type. And dude, what I realized was while dialing mortgage leads is great and easy, I realized I was like, dude, I'm not nearly as good as I thought I was with these leads. Like I thought I was like writing all my business from mortgage leads. And then it turned out I had a good bit of my business coming from like final expense mailers and Facebook final expense leads when I actually took the time to look at it. But it just seemed easier because it took me less time to dial the mortgage leads, So I think it's important to keep track of that stuff and see like how much business is coming from each different lead type. And what that also allowed me to do is whenever I would add a new one in, then I could keep track of it and see. And then if I was really bad at a lead type, I would just get rid of it and try something different, And I think it's important to do little things like that and then teach your agents to do little things like that to really, micromanage your business so you're getting the most bang for your buck, right?
Right. And so oftentimes it's our perception, because like you could have one bad experience and then you start associating with this particular lead type or this type of demo or whatever, what state or county or whatever it may be. So sometimes we kind of lose track of, where our business is actually coming from. That just because you enjoy something a little bit more, you feel like that was easier, doesn't mean that that's more profitable. When you broke it down, you looked at the different lead types. Was one substantially more profitable than the other? Because obviously there's more business that came from final expense than you thought, but was it one lead type that far outweighed profitability than the other?
No, they were all pretty evenly spread. I thought that I wasn't making any money from internet leads at that point. I was like, dude, I can't even make anything from these. And I was actually very profitable on them because I wasn't spending that much and was getting a good bit of squeeze out of those, I guess, if you want to put it that way.
Right.
And then with the mortgage ones, I thought I was super profitable, but like I had a lot of the retro ones that are like $80 a lead. And I'm like, oh, like I'm writing some of them, but I'm also not writing a lot of them. And I'm not killing it as much with that lead type as I thought I was, But like you said, like the internet ones, because I had some long dial days that were, like some long, terrible dial days with them. But I was like, oh, I did write some good premium off of those too. So I can't just get rid of the leads because it takes more work for me,
Right. Well, the time you started it was actually quite a different time. Like we've all been, I guess, in a way, fortunate that we have virtual and telesales platform now has really been built out since last August or September when they really launched it full force. But I mean, that's something that we've talked about in various meetings about. It also creates a lot of complacency. It also creates a lot of people. They sit around, they wait for a call to come in, or they dial and then they can't reach anybody, and then they're stuck. So do you still prescribe the hybrid method? Do people still go out face to face? What does your agency do?
Dude, I honestly I prefer face to face, and I like if anyone. This is just my opinion, so I don't want to discourage anyone that's killing it virtual to not do virtual, but I prefer face to face sales. Because I think for a couple of reasons. As when you're building an agency, I think it's there. Like when I was 22, let's say, Albert, for instance, I'm convinced that like half the people that bought from me my first 2 months bought from me because they felt bad for me because I was living in South Carolina. I had no family there. I didn't know what I was doing. And they would and I know they felt bad for me because they would like feed me and everything. Like, oh, you're so far away from your family, So like, I know that they bought because they were like kind of pitied me, but they kept the policies too, which was good. So I think like for people that aren't, as skilled at sales, I think it's just so much, you're going to get some sales going, sitting down in front of people. You're going to make that connection. They're going to buy from you. Like, I can't even tell you how many people bought from me. They're like, I already have 6 final expense policies, but you seem nice. I'll just get another one for like $30 a month. Right. But as a new agent, sometimes that keeps you in business, until you get rolling, until you get more proficient. So I like the idea of getting new agents out in the field, or what we've been doing with a lot of people who would like to do virtual is like, okay, why don't we do this? Why don't you get leads in your local area, whether it's local to you or an hour drive from you or whatever the case is, call them on dial days and ask them, hey, there's 2 options, 2 ways we could do this. I can take care of it with you right now over the phone for the next 15 minutes, or I'll be out your area tomorrow. Which one do you prefer? So we've had a lot of agents doing that to kind of hedge, I guess, and see which way they like doing better. But I actually like when I hear people do that, because it only gives them 2 options, right? And the option is not yes or no. The option is either right now or tomorrow. So a lot of times people are like, oh, no, I can't do it right now. Then you can go, okay, cool. Well, I'll be out there tomorrow at 6 p.m. Sound good. And you can book the appointment. So I think that way gives people the option to do both and see which one they gravitate more towards. But I wouldn't want to limit anyone by telling them they have to do virtual, or they have to do only in-home. I like them dialing for appointments and seeing what they can close over the phone, because that way they get the best of both worlds and getting started, and then they can choose which one they like better.
Right. Because you're around during the time when everyone was doing travel trips before, right?
Dude, our group still does a bunch of travel trips, man. I think we'll always have people to do that just because they make so much money doing it. But yeah, dude, my first area I had leads at, I lived in Charleston, South Carolina, which at that time, like the Southeast group was like the biggest group in the company, and there was like had all the mortgages locked out. We had ARM, that was it, right? We had one vendor. Right. I remember John Wetmore was like, hey, I got some mortgage leads to open up. You told me to let you know if you ever there and you came open. I'm like, oh, cool, I'll take them. He's like, they're in Cincinnati, Ohio. I was like, huh, all right, I'll still take them, I guess. That's what I started out doing, was going between there. And I was talking to Grady this morning about that actually. And I was like, dude, I remember taking $37 Allegiant flights from Charleston to Cincinnati, just hoping the plane wouldn't break on the way there, but that's how I learned how to sell, was getting out and getting uncomfortable and doing that.
Yeah, because I think with the virtual platform, a lot of people just they get even if they bought leads initially doing travel trips. Now there's like, why fly? Like, I can just do everything from home. Where it's it kind of hurt your business in some ways that you can't door knock somebody virtually.
Yeah, and dude, the other thing I used travel trips for was once I started building a business, some of the biggest groups I've recruited have been on travel trips, right? Because I wasn't the best recruiter ever, and I still wouldn't say I am. I understand how to ask better questions now. But one of our biggest groups we have, I literally recruited them by going. I had like a mortgage lead, right, in Cincinnati, or no, it was in Columbus, Ohio, and I met him at 7 a.m. the day of when we were doing. I met him at 7 a.m. I had appointments the rest of the day. I was like, you got to meet me at 7. I have appointments all day, and I'd ran for 3 days before. I'm like, hey, these are what our leads say, and then I was like, this is how much I've deposited, and I just went through. I'm like, this is how much I've deposited the last week since I've been here. So do you want to work with us, or I'll keep coming in your backyard selling insurance? And he was like, that's your pitch? I'm like, that's my pitch. That's all I got. He was like, okay, I'm in, but like, I just like to get in front of people, and I use the trips for recruiting and be able to get in front of them and dial with new agents, and then being able to like give off all my old leads that I didn't get a hold of and give them to new agents and give them a quick start. So now, while it's not necessary probably to do travel trips, I think it could be a useful tool if you're trying to build a business in certain areas to get out in front of the people there. Because I don't know, not for me, nothing beats meeting someone face to face, shaking their hand and going, we're going to go to business together and I got your back. I'm out here, ready to work with you, Yeah,
that's awesome, because you're doing a hybrid recruiting as well, in person and
exactly.
on the phone.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Well, going back to the opportunity thing. So CRM leads is obviously, sometimes people create these, or the worst thing is they listen to somebody else.
Yeah.
And then someone else had a bad experience and they're like, oh yeah, no, I'd rather work this lead. It's easier because theoretically if it feels like it's easier if you're getting a live transfer, they've done the work, but that's basically what they're doing. They're taking a bunch of leads and someone's calling them and setting you up and they charge you a lot for it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to CRM lead, what should be the expectation for a new agent? Like, out of how many they buy, how many should they book, and what's the general conversion rate ballpark?
Yeah, ballpark. I mean, I think so if you're looking at like the 1 month internet leads, I think you should look at, 10% should be a benchmark of how many people you should be able to do a presentation with, whether that's in person or over the phone, right? 10% of those. So about anywhere from 10 to 15 people out of the 150 leads you get, let's say, right? For instant leads, maybe 15%, maybe 20% if you're real good. And then for mortgage leads, maybe a little bit higher, like the age mortgage leads, the 1 to 3 month ones, call it, about 20%, 25% maybe. maybe 50 if you get real good. And then same with the aged mortgage leads too. And that's the other thing. I think people have underutilized that source a little bit, but that's what I started off on, was those ones, Albert, was the ones that are at least a year old. And because that was all I had, that was all that was available. But I learned from those, a lot of people told me, I never, like, someone came out years ago and wrote me this policy and I never heard from anyone again. So I started calling all those and go, hey, Albert, this is Zach. I see the card you sent in a couple years back for the mortgage protection. Has anyone been out to see you in the last couple of years, or just the one time when you took the policy out? And then they'd go, no one's seen me, or I never took a policy out. And either way, I'm good. I'll set the appointment, right? So I think just getting good at utilizing all the different lead types is really helpful too. But with those ones, same thing, 10 to 15%, and they're $2 a piece, all good, right?
Right. And for everyone that's on here listening to these numbers, I mean, I would agree they're pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So I mean, but keep in mind, these are benchmark numbers just as an average agent that's been putting in work. So
correct, yeah.
If you happen to be on here, you fall short of those because it's your first time calling, you're a new agent.
Mhm.
And if it's your first week or your first couple of days, like consider the fact that you have not had the experience to be able to get a real accurate number. I remember when I first started in sales ever, my manager gave me a stack of leads. I called through them, and then I brought it back to her, and I was like, oh, here, they're not interested. What do you want me to do with these? And she's like, just put it aside. And I'm like, you're not going to just toss them? And she's like, no, it's not that they're not interested. You just suck.
Yeah.
Right? And like, at first I was like, what are you talking about? I had the script right in front of me, but she's like, it happens all the time. Like, my first time I called through my leads, I couldn't book anybody. I didn't have any experience. I fumbled a few, I messed them up. And then, I called them back, a few months later, and I booked them and I sold them.
Yeah.
So
you gotta understand, like what Zach was saying, is like, when you're a brand new agent, you might be making these judgment calls, and they're usually emotional judgment calls that you might have just created within the first 2 hours of you calling, right? So he mentioned before, his team is starting at 7:30. What time do you normally finish until you're done, right? But typically on a brand new agent, what's the expectation you're telling them to run a phone day for?
Yeah, I'm like, you're gonna make 600 dials or set 15 appointments, whichever one comes first. And again, like, it's not always going to be like this. I want everyone to know, like, it's not always going to be like that, but we do have to start somewhere and build up to the cash flow to where we can buy more expensive leads, to where then you can dial from 7:30 to 11, and be done by 11 o'clock. Like, the last couple of years I was in the field, I'm not going to lie, mixing in, current clients, good lead flow, mortgage leads, and then filling in with final expense. I would start at 7:30 and be done by 10 on dial days and have my 15 to 20 appointments. But it wasn't that day one. And I was calling people that already sold insurance to and setting appointments with them. I was calling some mortgage leads. I was calling a couple new final expense leads. So it gets better, but you have to put in the work up front to be able to cut down the learning curve on the back, or the time spent on the back end. If that makes sense.
Definitely. And so much of that has to do with the fact that you've improved your skill set in the process of doing that. And also you've improved your bank account so that you're able to round out your lead strategy to have a better repertoire.
Yeah. And the other thing is, dude, people, once you understand that, like, everyone's like, what's the perfect script or whatever. And I'm like, dude, you could take, like, I remember I used to dial right next to Easton, and we had a little tiny office. We had 2 desks in the one office and 1 conference room, right? We used to dial next to each other, and his script was like very like meticulous, planned out. And my script was like, what's up, Albert? I got the form you sent in. I'm coming over tomorrow at 6, dude. Sound good? And he always laughed at me, but like, we had such different scripts had the same result. And what that taught me was, it doesn't matter so much what you say. It just matters how confident you are and how much you just, steamroll objections and keep rolling on the phone. It's all posture. You could say 2 different things and have the same exact result, as long as you have the right tonality, right posture, and, just, okay, sounds good. You're not interested, me neither. Anyways, I got to come out tomorrow. So 6 o'clock still work for you, and just keep rolling through it every time, So that I learned that lesson though, working with him, because our scripts were completely different, but we'd get dialing at the same time, and we'd have the same amount of no-shows, same amount of people showed up, same exact results, but totally different approaches on the phone. But we both were very confident and very persistent on the phone.
Everyone's just got to take ownership over their business. So
yeah.
Speaking of ownership over your business, I mean, before I know you got to go in a couple minutes. Can you just tell us real quick how Integrity's changed your life, and why people should be, for all the new agents on here that are looking to build an agency, why they should be going after this deal?
Yeah, I think, dude, recently it's changed my perspective a lot, because we just found out my wife is pregnant and we're having a kid in November.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Hey.
So thank you. But it's dude, the plan was always like, I want to work really hard up front so that we don't ever have to worry about money. And then now seeing that come to fruition is a big deal to me, because I've been at all of her doctor's appointments. I can pick and choose where I need to go to. I can be at everything, and I'll be able to be at everything. So that's the most important part to me. I'm like, we don't ever have to think about money again. I don't need the flashy car, but I just want to make sure everything's going to be good for her and my kid, and whatever my wife wants to do. She wants to do medical school, she can do it. And I get to be at everything and get to see everything from day one. So that's how it's changed my perspective on everything. I'm just very glad I don't care about money that much. I just don't want to have to worry about it. And I'm not worried about it anymore, which is a good feeling.
So what do people realistically need to put into this, or really realistically need to give up in order for them to get in the position to be able to get an integrity deal?
Yeah, dude, honestly, in 2020, I worked every single day. Like literally every day. I remember Deb and I got married on a Saturday. I worked Friday. I took Sunday off and then was back on the phones on Monday, So I literally worked, 80 hours a week, every week for the whole year. But it was with the intentionality of, I'm going to write a lot of business. I'm going to get out the field and build this business and scale it to where if I do it 100 miles per hour for a year, then I won't have to do it ever again. And so like, dude, I said no to everything that year, truthfully. Like I'm not going to lie to anyone. Like I worked my ass off for a year. And like we were building before, I was like 70% before, but like, if I give it 100% effort for a full year, what can happen? I'm glad I did that because it's paid off now, Yeah.
And you're obviously still a very incredibly hard worker, because we all see the results that you're putting up and the things you're doing with your team, but your role has changed over the course of time. So the things you didn't necessarily love doing before that got you this position, it's not forever, right?
No, but I can do it all from here, which is great. So do it all from my phone. I can be everywhere I need to be. I can run the business from the phone. So that's changed everything, and I can pick and choose to some degree what I need to do or not do,
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I know you mentioned that you had another call to hop onto, so I just wanted to thank you. I appreciate, everyone loved hearing from you, and you'll be at the Kicks for Kids event in June.
I'll be there. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone there.
Awesome. We'll see you then.
We'll see you there.
Thank you, all right. So that's always some great stuff to be able to get a chance to hear from an integrity partner and someone that's doing really well. So, yeah. What are your thoughts? I mean, you do a lot of CRM leads, and that's one of the main things that I wanted to have him on, because his team's been doing really well with it, and people have their doubts, or people create these narratives of like, oh, this is the way to go, and you can't do this, you can't make money here.
Right. So I think leads are leads. That's what he's getting at. It's like, dude, if you're coming in without money, or you're coming in with a low amount of money to spend on leads, unless you're coming in from a previous business background and you're willing to throw $1,500, $2,000 a week on the first week, you do want to have a starting point. And if you don't have income to get 1,500, live transfers, you want to start with CRM, but just understand it's not going to be there forever. You do got to put the time in it. Look what he mentioned. He's dialing. The expectation is 600 dials, okay, or 15 appointments, whichever comes first. And you start at 7:30. So we have to address these with new agents on the brand new expectation of what can happen, because I think we might be overselling the opportunity too quick, too fast, right? It's like we have high comps, you make one sale, you make this much money. And now we forget to mention, hey, there's hard work involved in this. You got to get the skill, the ability to get in front of people, and then it snowballs for you.
Yeah.
So I think people are thinking too far ahead of like, okay, where's my instant gratification now before I put in the work?
And Kaylani, you're basically a brand new agent. You've been around, and you just started. And you wrote your first piece of business last week.
Yes, it was last week on Monday, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I bought leads right after the sales conference.
Okay.
I bought like 20 CRM leads just to like kind of practice with and just go based off of those, and made my first sale on Monday. I basically just went through them as if I was reading off like a telesales script and just sold them over the phone. I got my first sale. In total so far, I've helped 6 families.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Off of 20 CRM leads?
Off of 20 CRM. Well, since then I also purchased like another 20. So in total, I've spent around like 500 on CRM leads and helped 6 families out of those.
Not bad.
it's a nice return so far.
Yeah.
So coming from a brand new agent perspective, I mean, well, since you've been around the business, I think this kind of helps a little bit more.
Yeah.
Are you hearing other people talk, did you have an idea of like, oh, these leads are better than these leads, or this is the way to go? Or
well, I've been familiar with the business for like a year now at this point. The most that I've ever heard of were like the instant internet leads is the ones that I've heard to be like preached about a lot.
Okay.
I
Good.
honestly haven't heard about like the mortgage and things like that till like early this year, which is kind of crazy to me. But I was just really familiar with the instant internet leads. So those are the ones that I personally purchased myself just to like work those. So yeah, those are the only ones that I've ever really heard a lot of people
Good. I
say
mean,
good things about.
there's an abundance
Right.
of those
So
leads.
many of them. Yeah. But they've worked out for me really well,
Great.
thankfully. So
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just to stay on the leads topic a little bit. I mean, like, Zach talks about having a diversity of lead flow. And that's important because it's not to say that you should be on one lead type or another. The thing is, you have to make the decision for yourself, and you need to like figure it out. You can't just listen to everybody else because everyone else has like a different experience with it. And, some people's skill set doesn't suit that particular, it might not even be the lead type, but, they might not have the mindset for spending this much, because if we look at it, mortgage leads are how much?
At least minimum 65 to 70 bucks.
60 to
For
like
cheapest.
90 bucks. I've
Yeah.
heard people say like it's like $90 a lead.
Yeah.
And then like Zach talked about, if you do a mail drop, I mean, it's going to be like $300 a lead.
Mhm.
Right. So you have to like recognize like, yeah, maybe you like that experience a little bit more. Maybe it's easier for you to book the appointment or to sell. And that's not for everybody either, because I've had people that work mortgage and they're like, God, I can't do this. It hurts every time someone says no.
It's a different
Yeah.
ball game. I always believe like CRM leads are your level 1. And then once you get better and you know how to book appointments and you know how to like deal and close, then you level up, you level 2, you add mortgage protection into it. Because just like what Zach mentioned, you are going to get a little bit faster booking. But yeah, it's a different ball game. There's a lot of variables that can happen.
Right. Plus you have so many more opportunities if you go with a cheaper lead. I mean, the thing is, yeah, it's like what are you going to sit around? I mean, I was actually having a conversation with a couple of guys that were doing live transfers this week, and then they're like, yeah, it's cool, but I mean, there's a lot of like downtime because if there's a lot of people on that day, then not that many calls come in, and sitting around figuring out what to do, and then in all that meantime, in the dead time, that's opportunity lost.
Yeah,
like I also, I sound weird. It's just an expensive way to learn, right? Like, say you have, $1,000, right? You may have been paying for, what is that, like 10? Let's hypothetically use the number 10. You've had 10 leads, right? And then you may sit with 2, and then if you suck, then you just blew 2, and now you're down 1,000. You know what I mean? Obviously, those are rough numbers, but you're essentially paying more to have the opportunity to sit and practice in front of less people. So that's why in the beginning, it doesn't really make sense. Like, once you have your ability to, you're able to close better, then it makes more sense because you're confident in your ability to transition that money that you put up into actual commissions,
Right.
Yeah. And don't expect to convert everything, especially up front. I mean, you
Yeah.
were off to a great start. So I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
then also just to temper your expectations, if you happen to have a rough second or third week, I mean, it's part of the business. It all averages out, right?
Yeah. And I've definitely already had a few bad dial days for sure, because I've just been going through those same ones just to see how much I could get out of it.
Right.
So I've definitely had my bad days already, but it's not going to stop me from like looking forward to those good days, because those good days are so rewarding.
Yeah.
And so like nice to like get through and like finalize it all. So yeah.
But at the macro level, you're looking at a bad day, even though you've only been in the business for 2 weeks and you made and helped 6 families.
Yeah.
When you look at it in the bigger picture, is it really a bad day?
I know. Like,
or is it with just one rejection, maybe?
Yeah. Well, I went through like, I think it was Tuesday actually. So I sold one on Monday.
Okay.
Tuesday went through, like dialed again. No one answered for like half the day. Then
Okay.
I got like 2 people on, said no. Both of them said no to me essentially. And just like either hung up on me, or like once we get to like a certain part, they're like, oh, I'm not comfortable with that. And like nothing that I said was like convincing them that like, hey, you need this, like, let me help you and things like that. So it was definitely one of those days. So I've just been going over those and seeing what happens.
Yeah. So you've done all telesales or virtual?
Yes.
Yeah. So you haven't gone face to face yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I don't know.
Do you plan to at some point?
I would personally love to, just to see like obviously what the difference is and like see what that part of the business is like. Of course, I don't want to close myself off to that. I just think for right now, like in the very beginning, it works for me. It works for my schedule. I just want to see more of like what that's like and see how much success like comes with that. And then hopefully, maybe I'm not closed off to it completely. I'd love to go ahead and try those out, of course. Yeah.
You know, I think most people just think about the convenience, like, oh, I can do it from my PJs at home.
Yeah.
but me personally, like when I was in the field, I mean, I was all face to face, and then I've tried a couple telesales and a couple virtual, and like I don't know, like it could just be because I'm not that used to it, but you know, I feel way more comfortable in person.
Yeah.
I also enjoy it a lot more. I mean, like you still go face to face.
I prefer it. You know, I can't sit still. But I mean, there is a great convenience on telesale and virtual, because like we're in LA County, you know, I live in the border of like OC, Long Beach, Lakewood area. And we would buy leads and there would be a client in freaking Palmdale and Lancaster, which is 2 hours out.
Yeah.
So do I want to take the 2-hour drive without traffic, with traffic 2.5, 3, and then come back and waste the whole entire day for one appointment? Or I can make a phone call, take 15 minutes. You want this or no? I have another, you know, ability. I have more free time without the traffic, basically.
Right. Yeah. We're actually on a numbers call earlier before this, and they were talking about the importance of just a hybrid system, because like a lot of times there's a lot of missed opportunities. Aside from the fact that people that are on live transfer, they're sitting around waiting, and if there's not that heavy flow of calls coming in, then you know you're sitting there prepared to work, but you have no opportunities coming in.
Yeah. There's also the missed opportunity of door knocking, right? Because if you are dealing with the clients that never pick up the phone, or, you know, don't answer any random numbers, if it's not a number that's on their contact, they don't pick up. How do you get a hold of these people? You know, you can only text, email, and call again until they choose to pick up or not.
Right.
So there's the missed opportunity on door knocking and getting additional sales. Maybe you can increase your sale volume by like 20-25% just on a few door knocks on your dead time.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, there's definitely things that you can do to keep yourself going in the meantime. And that's the guys I was talking to about their live transfer. They're like, we need to supplement something with this in the meantime, because like they're falling behind their personal goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, because the thing is, like, they can only write so much as much as the leads that come in during that time. But you know, we're all in control of it to an extent. You know, like we can all choose to purchase some leads, and you know, especially if you're building a team, there's no such thing as too many leads.
Yeah, that's a good thing though. I mean, you guys are thinking in an ownership standpoint where, okay, there's a slack in my business. Now, how do I fix this? You know, you got to diversify.
And then you're building a team, and you have a dialer that books your appointments.
Yeah.
So then sometimes you'll have appointments and you're unable to make it. Either you're tied up with an appointment or tied up with something with your daughter or something. Then what do you do with those appointments? So
this is where I like buying leads within my area. And this is where a target that I'm doing specifically for my agency is I want to create a bigger field of agents in our city, in LA. Okay. So I can diversify. So if I can't make it, you know, I have a dialer to book the appointment's there. But if I have agents here, I can share that lead. I can share that appointment, almost like a life transfer in a sense, but in the field hybrid, where they can go and see the clients and they can go make a sale, and then we do a split sale. Okay. So there was a situation. I had a wedding last Saturday, right? And I had a 4:00 appointment, but the wedding starts at 5. Well, it was all the way out in, I think, Pomona. I hit up Misha, who lives in La Habra. Misha went and sold it on Saturday. Okay, we do a split sale. We both make money. Okay, pays for the lead, pays for the dialer, and I get to go to the wedding. So plus, I mean, I guess like from a practical business standpoint, I mean, it makes sense for how we're gonna run it. But more importantly, the part that we often overlook is like that client wouldn't have been covered otherwise, right? That client requested for information, requested for insurance, and if someone just didn't have that system in place, then they wouldn't have got insurance. So, you know, every lead is like, you know, they're people. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah, some of them communicate differently. Sometimes it's the agent that communicates differently. That makes it difficult to book the appointment. But you know, you have to find a way to try to understand each other a little bit more and just get to the point of what they're looking for. If they filled out a lead, there's some form of interest. You know, the thing is, your job is to find out to what level and what they need and how you can fulfill that. Yeah. And understand, like, as we continue to grow and we continue to buy more leads, you know, sometimes for you as a brand new agent, that kind of goes away from your mind state of helping that individual, because you will go and come back as the selfish standpoint. It's like, man, this lead's done. Let me go buy new leads.
Right.
But at the end of it all, that family may not still be helped. Okay. So will you call that lead again, or would it give you an opportunity if you have an agent that's local to you to give them that lead, that older lead, to give them a shot? Right? And that's why FFL has those 1 month, 3-month-old leads. You always assume that you're going to be the best agent. So sometimes you may not have been that best agent or the previous one, and you're the new agent that's going to help out for that client. They might end up buying. It could be a gender thing. It could be the way you saw them at that day, or they didn't like you, and then they get another call and they like that one person a lot better, and it's a sale.
Yeah, I mean, because at our old company, we didn't have that many leads.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
recycled on recycled leads.
So oftentimes, like, it was just like they're reprinted leads.
Yep.
So you get it, like maybe like 4 or 5 people could have had it before, and the thing was like, oh well, someone else already seen them before. Like there's no point in like working this, but that's not the case. I mean, we're when you first started, you're like, oh, someone already saw that. I'm like, pretend that guy sucked.
Yep.
Right? Just go with that mindset, because the thing is, even if that person sold them, they potentially could leave money on the table. Maybe they didn't cover the spouse.
Mhm.
Maybe they showed them a small plan. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows? Our job is just try to get a presentation in with whoever we're talking to.
Yeah, and then same thing for your clients. So this is the missed opportunities that they were talking about too. In the we had a 1:00 call from Garfield from FFL broadcasted, and if you guys you've been in the business for at least 6 months, 9 months to a year, you already have your own clientele. You have your book of business. So it doesn't hurt for you to check up on them and ask, okay, maybe at that point when you were brand new and you sucked, you sold maybe just a small child whole life. Maybe you just sold the husband, but you're missing out the spouse. So it's a great opportunity for you to follow up on your own business, add on. Now maybe you built the trust, you can collect referrals. So there's a lot of missed opportunities on the cases that you've already have. And these are free leads.
Or maybe you didn't know that much about the different products, and there's a product that could have fit them at the time. You didn't know how to present it. So there's, you're going to be a different person 6 months from now if you legitimately put in the work.
Yeah.
If you sit in here and don't do anything, then you'll probably still be the same person, but just older.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that people need to understand. You need to just get through this part and just keep putting in that work and keep gaining that experience. Like, you'll have your book of business that you can go back and do policy reviews on and get additional business. That's less money that goes into your lead expenses. In addition, I mean, Matt Smith brought this up, and he said, because of residuals and renewals, if we write business, we get advanced 75% up front. In the 10th month, 11th month, and 12th month, we get the rest of that commission that we owed. And after the first year, we get the renewal, which is roughly about 5% or whatever it may be. So the thing is, you have money, and then he says, like, if you worked hard and you put in that time, and you got that money coming in, I mean, your leads are pretty much paid for at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, like, that's an ongoing stream of income that's going to take care of some expenses for you. But if you don't struggle through the first couple months, and this is like practical advice for you right now, you don't do that, and you don't put in the work, and you don't have the business, I mean, you're not gonna see anything on the back end of that.
Yeah for sure.
So going back to your situation, I mean, we've known you for over a year now, right?
Yeah.
I remember the first time we met was when you came down to our house in Arizona.
Arizona
At the
conference.
national convention. Yeah, that was a nice house, right?
Yeah, that was the first time that I got like a real look at everything, and then I was first interested. During the time, though, I think there was definitely like a lot that I personally had to go through and
Okay.
like grow in certain ways before I was even mentally ready to like start something like this.
Right.
Because it is hard, it's a lot of work, and I also was just immature in so many different ways that I was just like, I have this going on, I can't make time for this.
Okay.
But eventually it just came to a point where I was like, I'm tired of like being stressed, or like I'm tired of being like worried about money. Like, I'm too young for this. I'm only 20. Like, I shouldn't have to worry about this. And I have also had like customer service like experience from my old job. So I was like, I feel like I can do this. Like, I got to a point where I was like, I need to do this for myself, and like also just to be able to help people, because at the end of the day, like, I love doing that. So I was like, I can work from home. It was just all lining up, and I was like, I had to force myself to do it. And so now I'm here, And yeah, I feel like I'm very different from the first time you met me.
Yeah, I feel like that too.
Yeah. So what, talk
In a good
about
way.
that. So not
Yeah.
to go into personal detail, but
Yeah.
what do you think that you can help out for new agents coming in? What do you think any challenges that you've had that you've learned to overcome that's giving you success now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was me just being scared. And
Okay.
like I've heard like fear of success and like things like that so many times. And I'm like, that literally like describes me. And
Were you afraid of being successful?
a little bit. I don't know. To me, I'm just like, I'm so young. And I think like the hard work and like the sacrifices I would have had to make like scared me. But then you
Okay.
just get to a point where you're like, I want so much better for myself that I am willing to like sacrifice these things now so I can like make a life so much better myself later, you know? So it was that decision that I had to make. So I would say for like anyone in the same boat as me, of like being new, like just do it. Like honestly, just do it because now I'm here and a part of me wants to like yell at old Kehlani and just be like, just do it now. Like just start it now, you know? So that's one thing that I would say is just don't be scared and just go for it and surprise yourself because I've surprised myself even in like the last 2 weeks. So that's what I would say.
Nice.
Yeah, we're happy to see the good start, and you know we're obviously expecting you to keep following this up with more effort.
Of
Yeah.
course, of course.
But you know, fear of success is a weird thing because you know a lot of times people have a little bit of success, and you know they're just thinking like, oh, should I slow myself down?
Mhm.
Because you know sometimes it's something as irrational as like I'd rather continue flying in the spotlight or under the radar,
Yeah,
and I don't want to create these expectations, and then I'll have to like maintain it, and I'll have to continue to put in work
of
and
course.
continue to grow. I mean, like you know, we tend to want to just stay comfortable.
Yeah.
So you
Absolutely.
got to get out of that. But comfortable wasn't that great for you
No,
prior to that, right?
no, not at all. I don't even know why I was so fine with staying there, you know?
I think it was
Especially
more
now.
not so much a fear of success, but maybe you were saying like, you know, your age, you're having a fear of responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
Like being a full grown adult, like a coming of age for you.
Yeah.
Maybe you
that.
just wanted to have more fun and, you know, hang out and party more
Yeah,
than work, right?
But then it's like you kind of have to choose to be like different at that point from like the people that you surround yourself with. And honestly, recently, like in the last 2 months, I've been surrounding myself with so many more like new people and like getting close to people on my team. And I'm like, I want to be like you guys. And I don't know, like if I need to keep surrounding myself with the people that I still am because we're so different. And if I want this certain lifestyle, like there's things that I have to change.
Right.
That's
Whether
good.
that's mentally, like emotionally, like whatever it is that you need to do, like I've had to learn to like come to terms with that and just do it in the last like month or two. So it was a fast change, but it's already like benefited me and I just want to keep doing that because I know I'm like barely starting, but I can only imagine like how far that mindset will take me, you know? So
Well, who you surround yourself with is hugely important, and you know,
of course.
and you're still young, so I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that kind of makes some sense. I remember in college, my counselor called me in during my junior year, and she was like, "What are you going to do for work?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "You have no credit. You can actually graduate." And I'm like, "I'm not ready for the real world. Like, I'm never really graduate." So then I was like, "I'm a double major. I'm gonna figure something else to do. I gotta stay for the 4 years." So that's what I anticipated. I mean, which I don't know. In retrospect, like I didn't need to, but also, you know, can't regret anything because it's already passed, right?
Yeah.
And those experiences made me who I am. So it is what it is.
I remember
Yeah.
too in my college years, like I was at Cal State Long Beach, and your first 2 years, I was undeclared, and then they tell you, you know, at the end of your 2 years, you need to pick a major. I didn't pick a major until the end of my third year. What should I do? Where should I get out? Let me write this out. Let me see how things are going.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a growing, you're like a butterfly,
Yeah.
spreading your wings now.
I think like a big shift too was at conference
Uh-huh.
because I've like known everyone or known of everyone like on my team for the last like 3 months since I ended like my exam and everything like that.
Mhm.
But like, being at conference and like my team, like being surrounded by people like Jason or like Marlon or like Desiree or Leanne, Micah, like Daylon, all of them, it's like it pushes you to want to be right there with them, you know, and they're all really great at what they do. So it's just like when you follow people who have like found the secret recipe, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
or like our succeeding, it's like it pushes you to want to get to that point as well. And one thing, me and Marlon had a conversation of like, he wants me to be where he is now, or like to start getting there now, because there's so many things. He's like, I wish I would have known this, so this is why I'm telling you this. Or same thing, like Desiree is like, I wish I would have known this when I started, or like, you're so young, like do this now, so you don't have to go through the things that like we had to go through, or like learn things that you should just start learning now, you know? So that's been really cool. And that's like been pushing me a lot too, is like the people that I just surround myself with. So
Yeah, I mean, I think age has a little bit to do with it, but then again, there's people, I'm like, just seeing from where Marlon was when he started here to where he is now. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's like a totally different guy.
yeah.
And I think so much of it has to do with all of our belief and what we believe we can do. And like I'm sure when you started, when if someone said you're gonna make six figures or you can become a millionaire one day or all that stuff, yeah, it sounds good, and everyone says like, yeah, I would like to be there, but
Right.
did it sound that real at that moment?
No, it still doesn't sound real. It's weird.
But then now you're surrounded by people
Yeah,
that
and you're like,
that are either there or on track for it, and you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and isn't the comforting thing is that you're like, regardless of their age, they're just human like I am. Like
Yeah.
right.
we have like similar type interests, and
Yeah,
they make mistakes too. They're
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's been really nice to just be surrounded by people like that, of course.
Yeah,
It's
Leanne always
encouraging.
says that you got to stick to the fire. You got to stick to where people are winning.
Leanne is, yep, yeah. Listen to that woman.
well, you surround yourself with some great people, and you know it's if you just continue on with that path and continue to put in that work, you know you're gonna be doing just fine. So
Thank you.
so but yeah, I mean, appreciate you coming on and sharing. What are you following up with this week? How many you gonna help a bunch of families next week?
Yes, I want to. You want a number?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean a number would be nice.
That'd be good.
A little goal.
We're gonna hold you to it.
Yeah,
Oh,
put it out there
God.
in the world.
Let's put like a dinner on it or something.
Oh gosh.
Or we shave your hair.
No,
No
eyebrow,
way.
eyebrow.
Half
Just
an eyebrow.
No
Just half.
way.
Sam will take care of it.
Nothing with my. No.
Just the first half in the top.
So what's what's the families you help?
I think starting next Monday, next Friday.
Okay.
No, next Saturday, I can help 10 families.
That's a good goal.
All
That's good.
That is.
Write this down. We're gonna hold her
I
accountable.
have to buy more leads
There you go.
today.
Bring your clippers. We're gonna
There you go.
cut off her, shave her eyebrows. But
That's my number.
okay, so she's gonna help 10 families next week, and you know what you got to do. You got to get your leads and
Gotta do.
talk to a bunch of families and
If
try
she-
to see what you need help.
If she hits it at dinner, there's a new place that just opened up in the
Uh-oh.
Tao group.
Uh-oh.
You know what I'm saying, Albert? Let's go, all the staff.
Hey, the staff is pulling for you then.
I know. All right, we'll see
It's
what
not
they
just
can-
about
I'm
you
just a
now,
team
Kehlani.
player.
I know.
It's not just about
So
Kehlani
generous.
anymore. But that's great though, because for you guys that are brand new agents, it starts with your belief, right? Like,
Yeah.
she didn't know what she was capable of. She didn't think she was capable of success because she thought, at a young age, it's not meant for her yet. But now, helping 6 families in 2 weeks, now she has a bigger goal of like, okay, now I think I could do 10 in 1 week, right? And even if you don't, not to say that you won't, you shoot for the stars, land on the moon type of thing.
Yeah.
You're still gonna make a lot of money
Yeah.
if you put in a lot of good effort into it.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Or you'll shorten your learning curve if you somehow bomb, which I'm not
Right.
rooting for. But even if you do, the thing is, at least you're gonna get a lot of learning lessons along the way
Mhm.
Of
faster.
course. Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can't lose.
You'll
Yeah.
also shorten your eyebrows.
don't.
Just kidding.
But yeah, I mean, I appreciate Kehlani you coming on and sharing with us.
Of course,
Thank you,
thank
John,
you.
as always.
Yeah.
And that segment with Zach was great.
That's awesome.
Hopefully you guys got some good stuff out of it, and just to see where he's at and where we all aspire to be. So, it's all possible out there. First of all, starts with the belief. So make sure that you guys believe in yourself and your business and what you need to do to put into it. I mean, be realistic with yourself. It's not
Mhm.
going to happen on its own. So just because other people are having success, it doesn't mean anything for you unless you actually go in and implement those same things into your business and figure it out along the way. If we learn nothing else about lead strategies, you got to make it your own.
Mhm.
All leads, like Zach Tardowski was the guy that told me, he was like, all leads work and all leads suck.
Yep.
So, he's got to put in the work and he's got to figure it out. So, let's take ownership of that part let's continue to go out there and just put other people first. Let's help them out. If you can do that, you'll make your money and you'll continue to grow. So let's go out there. Let's do what we can and let's go be elite, guys.